Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, welcome to our show, The American Veteran. I'm Dale Parrish, your host. Carl Fowler is co-host. And our guest today is Connie Douthat. She's the manager of the Airman and Family Readiness program at the Air National Guard out here at Bear Field. Also joining us today is Megan Ross. Welcome to our show, ladies. As manager, okay, let's start out. What is the Airman and Family Readiness Program?
The Airman and Family, well, first of all, let me say thank you for inviting us to be on your TV show today. We consider it an honor to be here and to be able to tell the community and our veterans what we do.
Yeah,
as the Airman and Family Readiness Program Manager, after 9/11, it became apparent that we weren't taking care of our families enough, and that we really needed to have a full-time position within all military components to help our families. And so that's how the job came about. Before, it was just an additional duty for somebody in the military. And since then, it has grown tremendously. It started out just as a information and referral and a program, and since then it has grown to where we do information and referral. We provide different resources, such as a personal finance counselor now. We help with employment, with resumes, anything to do with employment, actually, for both the spouse and the service member, which is great. And we don't, of course, always do that ourselves. We resource some things out and network with our local and state communities. Some of the other things we do in this job is we provide deployment support to both the airmen or the service member and their families back home. We like to concentrate on those families back home. For instance, we have a family who they have 5 kids and their washer and dryer broke down. And so we provided them through donations from outside sources with a brand new washer and dryer.
Oh.
And yeah, when you have 5 kids, you need that washer and dryer going every day. So those are some of the things that we do. We also have what's called the Yellow Ribbon Program, and that's where we do pre-deployment briefings with the family members and the service members, and then we do post-deployment briefings with the service members and the family members. And before the airmen or the service members get back from their tour, we do a reunion briefing with the family members, and we include the children on that so that they know how to relate back to their dad or mom or their grandma or grandpa or aunt and uncle when they get back from overseas, and that's really important. So those are, in a nutshell, without going into detail, and if you want me to, we can do that, but in a nutshell, that's what we do as the Airman and Family Readiness Program Manager.
Great. Now, where's the financing come for this? The government or donations? Or
for the core of the program, it comes from the government. We are government employees, and so we request a budget every year, and that's where the budgeting comes from.
Yeah. You're not a member. You don't belong to the 122nd. You work for them, I guess. Is that the way you put it?
Correct. We work for the federal government, but we are located at the 122nd Fighter Wing.
Okay.
And you serve them then, right?
I serve the 122nd Fighter Wing and any current military member who may need help. They can feel free to call us.
Okay, so
or
you're
email
open
us.
to any military member.
And their family, correct.
Okay, that's a broader scope than what I had imagined.
Yeah.
Yes. And then at the state level, we have what's called it's the Indiana National Guard Family Program, and they actually have 15 family assistance centers throughout the state of Indiana. And you can just Google, actually I have their website written down. You just Google Indiana National Guard Family Program, and it'll bring you up to their website. And you just click on family, and it'll have a list of all 15 family centers that they have throughout the state of Indiana.
Oh, okay.
And they also help any veteran, any service component, and any military family. And once again, they'll help you with TRICARE issues. If you need a legal resource, they can provide you with that resource. They'll help you if you have questions about servicemen's group life insurance. They can help you with that. They help with deployment support. Or if a family is having financial problems, we help get them the right resources or grants so that we can take care of whatever problem they're having.
Okay, you said deployment support. What's that?
Deployment support is when we have someone deployed or a group of people deployed overseas. We have different events for them. One is the pre-deployment, and that's for the airmen, their family, or I should say service member, their family, and their children. And we let them know, how to prepare for that deployment. Does whoever's handling the finances back home, do they know how to take care of the finances? If everything's automatically deducted, do you want to keep it that way because maybe your pay will be a couple weeks behind because you're going from a civilian job to a military job, so your pay is going to change, and you may have that 2-week lag in there. Or you may be making less money once you deploy. And so how are we going to help you? In some cases, the employer steps up and actually makes the difference in their pay, which is great. And
Sure.
we have the employer support of the Guard and Reserve organization, and they have a few full-time employees down in Indy, but the rest are volunteers. And one of the things they do is award employers who go above and beyond like that.
Oh.
And for more information on that, you just can Google Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, and it'll come up with how you can be a volunteer, how you can put your employer in for an award, and those types of things. And then, like I said, for the reunion event, once again, we're working with the children and with the significant other, spouse, parents, to let them know what signs to look for, possibly if your member might have PTSD when they come back, or depression signs, or how to communicate with that member again, and how to change those roles or turn those roles back over to the spouse who left. Yeah. If he did all the disciplining of the children before he left, how are you going to turn that back over, and how are the kids going to react to that? Yeah. And I just got an email today from a family whose little 2-year-old is calling any male basically that they see daddy, and she can't get him to understand. She's like, how do I make him understand that not every guy he sees is daddy?
Obviously doesn't know who his daddy is.
She keeps, I think he does. He keeps showing him pictures and everything.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, he knows who daddy is. He's just a little confused, I think. I think he's missing his dad, and he's only 2.5, and he's missing that male figure in his life. So, but in this case, this is when I would be turning that issue over to the Director of Psychological Health at our base, Megan Ross, to help them with that issue.
Okay.
So, because I'm not qualified to help with that, but she is, and we work really well together with things like that.
No,
very good.
Go ahead, Carl.
No, it's
Okay. Reunion support. Are you there when they actually get
Come
off
home?
the plane and meet their wife and their spouse and children?
Yeah, that's different than our reunion event. We call that the return.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we invite the families out for that.
That is heart-pulling, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it
Yes,
is. It is. But yeah, the families are there, and we make a big deal about it, and it's very heartwarming to see that initial reunion as the members walk off the planes and they get to run to their family. And so that's great. That's the reward there at the end.
Yeah. You said you helped with the employment. I hear stories about they're having a hard time finding employment. I don't know about the ones that are called away from their employment to go.
To serve, yeah.
But
I know at the 122nd Fighter Wing a couple years ago, we actually did a survey with all of our members, and our unemployment rate was only at like 8%. It was very low.
oh yeah.
In the past, we have worked with Work One to have resume classes and interviewing classes at the base, and they actually did one-on-ones with all of our airmen who showed up for the class, and we had 40 some odd airmen who took advantage of that. And I always work with Work One on a daily basis, with Frankie is his name, Frankie and John and Tim, the three that I work with down at Work One, and they are the Department of Labor Veterans Program, and they work specifically with our military members and the veterans and helping them find a job. So that's my local resource here.
By helping them find a job, you don't check with manufacturers and that, do you?
They do not, but the next program I'm going to talk about does.
Okay, good, because in other words, you prepare the individual for employment.
Work One does, yes.
Yeah, okay, but you don't basically go beyond that, do you?
Work One does not, no.
No, okay.
The employment program that's ran by the VA, actually, out of Indianapolis, has a full-time employee. They have 5 or 6 full-time employees, and one's in India, and then they have 4 or 5 located throughout the state. And their job is to, once again, prepare that veteran for employment, whether it's interviewing skills, how to dress properly, making sure their resume's okay. But they also go out into the community and connect with those employers.
That's what
who want, not only who want to hire, but they also go out to employers and explain to them why you should hire a veteran. What skills do they have? Their leadership skills, their discipline, they report to work on time, they're respectful, all those key concepts that you want in a good employer. And so they've gotten a lot of employers who are now dedicated to hiring veterans. And you also have on a national level the Hire to Hero program, which has joined forces with the Department of VA also. And so if you go to the Department of VA website and click on employment now, any veteran can go there and get their own password and sign in for what's called e-benefits. And that's how they make the initial contact with that employment coordinator person to help them with their employment skills, resume skills, interviewing skills, and actually hook them up with an employer. Because the state program here in Indiana, once they get your resume looking fine and they know that you're ready to go, then they're going to look at their list of employers who we know are hiring now, and they want veterans for a match, and then actually do a warm handoff to that personnel director, the one who does the hiring. This way your application just isn't emailed to them along with 500 others or whatever. You're getting one-on-one with that hiring.
That's getting their foot in the door.
Exactly. And that's what our veterans need.
They deserve it, yes.
Correct. And if there is a veteran out there who's, they hear me talking about employment and they didn't hear the rest of it, or they don't know what number to call, they can, my information will be up on the screen. They can call or email me, and then I can forward them that information to them.
Sure. Good. They can also email the American Veteran, and I can
refer them.
Give them that. Who to contact.
Correct. Yeah. Any other questions for me? I have plenty more to talk about it. So
no, I was going to say about how many people do you serve? The size of your
out of the 122nd
clients.
Fighter Wing, and, between them and other people, I serve about 1,500 people overall.
Okay, great.
So, and then any other veterans that may call me.
Yeah.
Do you do group meetings, or is it basically one-on-one?
It's normally just one-on-one. Yeah. Now, I do interact with the community of Fort Wayne a lot. We do have what's called the Northeast Indiana Military Assistance Network here in town, and we meet once a week. And it's a group of mostly nonprofits or any agency that wants to help veterans and military people and their families. and we share the wealth of information that we have so that we can advertise it on the various websites and Facebooks that are out there. And then if someone has a new program that they want to introduce, they can bring it to us, and we can help get it running up and starting. Yeah. Some of the other nonprofits in town that I work with closely, one is the Volunteer Center, RSVP on Lake Avenue. The director is Jean Jolly, and I've been working with that organization for at least 8 years, and they provide volunteers for us for every year. We do a base holiday party where we have like 1,000 people, and they come and volunteer for that and work a lot of the games for the kids and pictures with Santa Claus, or at some of our deployment events, they've come and helped there too, handing out packets or helping with registration. Yeah. Every year we have a family day at the 122nd Fighter Wing, and they come out and work that event for us. We have a local chapter of the USO here in town, and Carl Huber of Water Furnace is the lead volunteer for that here in town, and they help us tremendously also. They do, in this case, donations, or they will actually pay for some of the, like the water or the pop for our events. Plus they help work all of our big events. They help with the honor flights that are out there, serving the food and those types of things. And they also help with postage. They did this year, helped with postage for care packages to send overseas. We sent 86 from the base, and the community donated money to the USO, and then the USO wrote the check for us to send over the 86 care packages.
Now, you're located right at the fighter base?
Yes, I am. I'm located right on the 122nd Fighter Wing fighter base.
Well, I'm wondering, you have these volunteers and so forth come in and help and everything. Don't they all have to go through clearance and everything, get on base?
Yes, they do. What I do is with all the volunteers is whoever the lead volunteer is, they provide me with the information that we need, and I provide that to security forces, and they run a background check on everybody. I have to get that information to them like 72 hours ahead of time, and then they let me know if there's someone who we can't let on the base.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that would be quite a job in itself, because I'm thinking of all these people, you know, whether that would be a hindrance to volunteering and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So.
And then we also work with Associated Churches, and the director is Reverend Roger Reese down here on Wayne Street, and they have a military support fund, and they do 2 big fundraisers every year for that. But if we have veterans who need, and it's any veteran or their family, who may need help with their rent or their utilities, or they may need a gas card because they don't have enough money, we can contact them, and they provide that to the individual for us. So that's a great asset that helps me do my job and take care of my families.
You know, I don't know about other cities, but I think Fort Wayne is one of the most generous. The businesses are and the people are the most generous.
Yeah.
Around it.
So basically you're working with active duty people, or people that are going to be deployed, haven't yet maybe made the transition, but do you also handle veterans that have been out of service?
I do a little bit with veterans that have been out of service, but mainly with them I refer them to other agencies. But if I do know of a program that can help them, I either work the issue with them myself, because we just had a veteran right before Christmas. We helped him through Associated Churches, because their military support fund is for veterans too. We helped him pay his rent, and we got him some food. He was a diabetic, and the food that he got from his local church he couldn't eat. So we went to Associated Churches, and they let us go through what they had and pick out food that he could eat, and then my assistant actually delivered it to him.
Well, I'm sure that was a big asset to him, a big help.
Oh yeah, he was very, very thankful for that. So.
Okay. We're aware that lots of the Vietnam, I shouldn't say lots, but some of the Vietnam guys were homeless. You refer them to different agencies also, or what?
Yes, I would refer them to one of the homeless shelters here in town, or to the VA itself, or maybe to the vet center to help them. Because I have no direct programs myself to help the homeless veterans. So we do our best to work through the agencies that are already established in the local community.
Okay, very good.
And there's one other organization that I work with here in town closely, and it's called the Fort Wayne-based Community Council. And it's only been in existence for 2 years. And it is a group of corporations and companies that want to help the military. And our previous wing commander, Colonel Augustine, had initiated the base community council, but now it's ran through 501.
C.
Well, I think it's D.
D?
But they are connected now with the community foundation so that they can take donations and have them be tax exempt.
Okay,
So,
sure.
because they also have a military support fund that we can use. And that's for the Air and Army National Guard current members within Northeast Indiana. There's 9 certain counties that we serve, Allen County being one of them. And through them, we can request up to a $500 grant to help our current service members, Army and Air Guard, who may need help with those utilities or rent or a car payment or a car insurance. And this is specifically for those who are not deployed.
Okay.
We have so many organizations that want to help just those who are deployed, and we didn't have enough that wanted to help financially those who were not deployed. They may have served their country in the past by being deployed or, by being in the Guard. So when they set that up, I requested, and a few of us requested, that it mainly be centered for those who are not deployed, so we could provide them with some kind of help also.
I was going to say there's a lot of support for the veterans anymore, support groups.
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Well, it sounds like you have contact with quite a few different agencies to help the veterans. And, like
All
you
they
say,
have to do is take advantage of it.
I think a veteran in Fort Wayne, would contact you and get whatever assistance they need.
They could do that, yes. And
Seems like when we got out, they just dumped us out and was on our own.
Yeah, I come back to civilian life, and was I glad, And I transitioned on my own. Yeah. But I can see that wars now are a little different too. And being deployed 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I'm sure would get to you.
Yes. And not only does it get to that service member, it gets to the families also.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And that's finally, being recognized that when that service member serves, and thank them so much for serving our country, but that family back here is serving also, and we have to take care of them at the same time.
That's what I was wondering. When a service member is deployed, whether it's with a group or individual or just a small group or whatever, there has to be arrangements made for division of pay, right? So that the family at home gets some money?
Yes. And, and each family works that out for themselves.
Do they? Because the pay basically goes to the service guy when he's on active
Well, now
duty,
it's all electronic deposit, so it goes into whatever account they...
Is that right?
Yes, and so you can have part of your paycheck go to an account that the service member has access, and the other part of it go to the family. Or you can just share an account if you want to. But it's all done electronically now. There's really no cash anymore. So.
Well, that's enlightening. I didn't know that. Okay.
And the spouses back home or the family back home can even have access to what's called the My Pay system, so to where they can log in and look and see the what's called the leave and earnings statement. And once they can see that, then they know, oh yeah, it's been deposited into the checking account. Or, so for instance, we had one lady, she should have got paid that day, her husband should have got paid, but there was no money in the account, but yet when she went into My Pay, it said she was paid. And what happened is the bank put a hold on her account because they forgot to call the bank and say, oh yeah, my husband's traveling overseas, so you may have these strange countries listed, and so they were trying to protect her, and protect the family, which was a good thing. But it's important nowadays that you to remember to call your credit card companies and your bank and let them know that, hey, I'm traveling out of the country, and you may see some charges to some strange countries, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. If I was a veteran's family today, I would be very careful with what's going on with the terrorist.
Yeah, and we do brief our families on that.
Do you?
We've sent them out brochures and manuals on social media, what you should put out there, what you shouldn't put out there. As part of that pre-deployment brief, all the family members who attend, they get a briefing, on what you can and cannot say. And definitely before you talk to any public affairs people or any media people, you should run that through our public affairs office out there at the 122nd Fighter Wing to make sure you're not saying anything. We brief them, don't be in Walmart or Myers or some store and be talking to a friend about, oh yeah, my husband or my wife is at such and such a location and this is what they're doing, and because anybody could be listening to that and follow you home, or
not only terrorists but scamming and other things.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that information is available to them.
Yeah. Got a couple of minutes yet. Is there anything you'd like to hit on, especially?
Through the state Indiana National Guard family program, we have the Indiana National Guard Relief Fund. And it's only for Army and Air Guardsmen and their families, but through that they can get up to a $2,500 grant if they can prove a financial hardship. So, and this is for people who are not deployed. You don't have to be deployed to access this.
Just have to have the right circumstances.
The right circumstances, and then, there's documentation that we ask for, of course, and it goes in front of a nonprofit committee, and they vote on whether or not.
Sure.
And then the checks are actually written to the organization that's being paid, whether it's a utility bill, mortgage, or maybe you need a car repair.
Not to the individual.
Not to the individual, correct.
Understand.
And then if you're deployed, they actually have up to a $10,000 grant that you can get if you can prove a hardship. Years ago, we had two families that had the old oil heating systems. You had the oil tank. They still had those, and the oil tanks broke. So to get a brand new heating and air conditioning unit was $9,000.
Yeah.
And so thank God for that grant, because we were able to help both of them get their new HVAC system.
Okay.
And then through the Department of the VA, there's the Military Family Relief Fund, and this is good for any veteran, any service member, up to 3 years after they have deployed. They can get up to a $2,500 grant for any issue related back to their deployment. Or if it's some current issues they'll help with, it just depends. But once again, it's a nonprofit, and you submit an application, and then the nonprofit approves it or disapproves it. And you can actually work through your veteran service officer that each county has on that particular grant. And if they go to the VA website, excuse me, not the VA website, the Indiana.gov website, and just search on Military Family Relief Fund, it'll take you to the right page, and you can find out if you don't know who your veteran service officer is in the county. There's a link to click on that and find out who it is. So there's lots of resources out there that some people may not know about.
I don't know who ours is anymore.
Well, George Jarble came back part-time, I was
He
just
did come
told
back.
yesterday.
We heard that he had retired.
He had retired, but I just found out yesterday from Work One, actually, that he came back part-time.
Okay.
George was a good one.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
We
Still is.
we all knew George Jarbo. I'd seen him on a couple of occasions about medals and so forth. But
somebody 50, 60 years old call you and say, I'm out of work, well, we're out of time.
Told you I could talk.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on our show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Megan.
Thanks for serving our service people.
Thank you
Appreciate
both.
that. Megan, thank you.
Very
also.
interesting, and lots of help out there for the veterans. They just give you a call.
That's right.
Well, thank you for joining us. Remember, freedom is not free, so if you see a veteran or someone in uniform, just walk up to them and say, thank you for your service. Thank you, and good night.